Annyeong, it's Mikey here, and today we're coming back with another keyboard video. Now this one is going to be a case. And what case is it? It's the Sentry from Sensy.lab. Now, we have to thank Keybay and Sensy.lab for sending it out because I actually was able to get like a full kit to be able to build this. So Keybay is sending me out the Sentry and sending me out the Rakka HE. So I'm going to do a full Rakka build. This is my first time doing a Rakka, finally getting into it. So we'll see how that is like with this specific case. And I'm also going to be trying to build it with a mechanical keyboard. So it's going to be the Venom MX and see how that is because this case is supposed to be able to do both. So we're going to have to really see how does it sound with the Rakka in it. And then we're going to see how does it sound with an MX build and really see what kind of case this is and how good is it going to be. So let's go straight into doing the unboxing and then the build. But please make sure to like and subscribe.
So taking a look at the Sentry from Sensy.labs, and I'm going to be using the Rakka to be able to do this build. Now keep in mind guys that I'm actually traveling at the moment, so I have a different mic that I'm using for these recordings. So hopefully this works for you guys in terms of the sound quality. Now one thing I have to note is that because the Rakka does come built like with the plate, the switches, everything put together with the PCB, and the PCB technically has two pieces by the way. There's going to be the LED piece and then the PCB. Now we're going to have to take apart the actual plate and the PCB, so you're going to have to remove the screws that are keeping the plate and the PCB together, which is not a difficult thing. And one thing nice about HE is once you do remove all the screws, it actually is very easy to take it apart. One thing to do with this is that you get all of the screws, make sure you get everything, and then all you have to do is just take the whole top off. So you can see right here I was missing a screw, so I got it in. Just keep in mind guys, I also did this build on stream, which you can catch the two different parts because my stream actually had a little bit of an issue in the middle. So this is, you can see how I did it. So boom, got it all off, and then right there everything's clean and off. And then now I have just the Rakka PCB. And again, I have to thank Keybay for sending out the Rakka PCB because I really want to try this thing. And I will do a review of the Rakka PCB later on, but this build we're going to be focusing on the Sentry case. So one thing note, we're going to use the Mobius switches for this build because I want to hear what the switches actually will sound like with this thing, and we're going to use this PCB for the whole Sentry build, as well as I'll use a Venom MX PCB so that you can hear both the different styles that this case can do, because this case is a GH60 case. So right here I'm going to remove every single switch from the actual plate of the original Rakka, which is an FR4 plate by the way. And then I'm going to be putting it into the Sentry, which is also an FR4 plate. You will see that the Sentry already has stabilizers and everything kind of in there. That's because I did have the Venom MX in there. I was actually testing it on my own beforehand, and it was just before the streams. Unfortunately, I was missing the unboxing portion of this videos, so just please bear in mind that the Sentry, the one I got, is actually a proto model as a review unit, so it doesn't actually have anything else in there, just the case and side of a carrying case. So that is something that I noticed for that one. But you're supposed to get a lot more, which we'll take a look at the Keybay website in terms of the Sentry itself. Now one thing to note is that it is a little bit difficult to remove the top case from the bottom case. It doesn't have like a specific handle side where you can grab it. You have to grab it from the sides there, and you have to pull it off, but it is more of like a friction fitted top to bottom case. Like you do use screws to screw it in, but technically speaking you don't have to use screws because it's actually quite tight. It's really a little bit difficult to get off the whole thing. Now I'm going to be using these clip-in stabilizers. I think just it's going to be a lot better compared to using the plate mount stabilizers that's already available. So we're going to be using these specific stabilizers for every single build. That way it keeps it a little bit more stable and we can see what it sounds like without having different changes or comparisons with different stabs. Now another thing that we're going to be doing is using both the MX PCB as well as the Rakka, and of course we're going to be making sure to use different types of switches to do the sound test. Now keep in mind that HE with the plate, you want to make sure you have the standoffs so that you can screw in the plate and the PCB. The reason why the standoffs are important is because HE is a little bit different than MX, where MX you can actually get away with keeping the switches in and it'll hold the PCB with the plate. But when it comes to HE, the HE switches only have the side prongs to actually keep in state and like keep it in a stable state inside of the PCB, but it doesn't have the strength to really hold everything in there. So that's why you want to make sure you actually use the standoffs for the PCB. Now, you can kind of get away with it if it was in a case and everything, but I would highly recommend use standoffs so that you don't have to worry about anything coming off, because as I showed you earlier, one thing nice about HE is that you can actually remove the top portion, so the plate, off of the whole PCB, which allows you to work on the stabilizers if you have screw-in stabilizers comparatively to something else. So this is something important to note. Make sure you do have standoffs available, and hopefully they do provide the standoffs in the Sentry case. Just because I don't have the full packaging, I can't really guarantee anything specifically with that. Now, overall, not very difficult to build. You can see here that it's very, very easy to just put everything together. So we put in the last screws. I'm not going to put like every single screw to keep the PCB and the plate together, but I'll use about 4 to 5 in the corners, in the middle, just so that it is stable and putting everything in. Now, as you can see here, when I was putting in the top case, it's a little bit difficult as well. Like, it's very, very strict in terms of how you can fit it in. So you can see right there, I'm like trying to make sure everything lines up. So this is a little bit of the difficulty portion in terms of building this case. And one of the things that I felt wasn't the greatest out of all of it, because at the end of the day, you want to make it very, very easy for people to work with your case, and you're going to be playing around with it a lot most likely, especially if you are someone who's looking to do a little bit of playing. And obviously here, I forgot the stabilizers, so I had to actually take it apart first, make sure get all the stabilizers in, and then go back into doing this build. Now, the next portion after is going to be putting on the actual top case, and keep in mind, this is going to be a top mounted case, so you're only be able to do top mount. You're not able to do any other style in terms of this. No gasket mounting, no tray mounting, nothing like that. It is only top mount. And then once you do put the top case on, you should screw in the screws for the case. It has a large star-shaped one, so just keep in mind that this is what you're going to be using. The middle right there where I'm actually screwing first is quite deep, so you have to make sure you're using a screwdriver that is quite thin and long enough for that spot. I'm not sure why that one's so deep. I think that's a little bit of a mistake in terms of the build, because some people might have a difficulty trying to get it out, and it's really quite deep. Like, I have a decent screwdriver, but even then I was like quite worried that it's not going to work. Now, we're going to put the Mobius switches back in, and this is the switch we're going to use first. So I did a foamless build first, and then we'll do a foamed sound test. So we'll do 2 different types of sound tests with the Mobius switch with the Rakka. Then we're going to go into doing a sound test with other things. So we'll have many different sound tests and many build styles with the specific board. But overall, I'm going to be using the Mobius, the GMK Katakana for the specific build. I think the GMK Katakana board works really well with this specific case because it's a little bit hard to match keycaps with this. The Mech style case is a little bit difficult with the color rays, and we'll look at the colors later to see which probably one I would suggest the most. But of course, it's going to be personal preference at the end of the day. So let's go finish this build and see what it's like.
Honestly, building is not difficult. So like, the case and the whole thing didn't come with a lot of stuff in it. It was literally just a case inside of a carrying case, and that's it. In terms of the things that I noticed about doing the build is that taking off the top case from the bottom is not super easy. You actually have to make sure to grip like the side here. There's like a little edge here. Let me show you guys right here. The little edge here that you need to grab and pull up after you unscrew everything. And the screw here is a little bit deep. Like, depending on the screwdriver you have, you're gonna have a really difficult time getting out the screw. So those are the couple things that I noticed in terms of this case and the build aspect of it. Now, in terms of how does it sound with the MX, well, we're gonna have to go into the sound test with the MX build, and then I'll do the HE build, and we'll go over the whole Rakka inside of this, because I actually have the Mobius switches already with the Rakka, as you guys would have saw, and we're gonna see how that sounds with this total build.
Now, one of the things that I noticed is the front has a little bit of a lip, and the lip is not too bad. It is slightly gone diagonal downwards, which allows you to have a little bit more of a comfy typing. As I said, the top case is a little bit difficult to put on. It does weigh a total of 1.6 kgs after you build everything. The top height is going to be a total of 34 millimeters. So that's the top height. The front height is going to be 22.2. Then the length of the board is going to be 128.7. So you should be looking at close to a 6-degree typing angle, and overall the mech design is quite cool. It is really meant for gamers, and you can really see how this came out. It does have the huge mech gamer feel, and I do like this design. It is not too bad for sure. The spacebar can do a little bit more work in terms of sound, but definitely not the worst that I've heard so far. One thing I was quite surprised with was the foamless Rakka build on this thing sounded really nice and didn't sound a lot like HE, but actually sounded a little bit more like MX in total. You can see here the price is $225 USD for this case. It has 3 different colors. I think the blue might be a little bit cooler, as well as the red. The green does look really nice as well. Now you can see here it's an F4 plate. Case foam is available, keyboard case, and then you have the top mount screws. So overall it's a very bare bones kit case. Really don't get much with it. And then the Rakka with it is going to be $225 as well. So you are looking at $450 USD in total, which is quite expensive, but it does come with the Mobius switches for this one. So keep that in mind. Now you can actually save some money if you use code Mikey with Keybay, so 5%. And they also have the rewards program, which is really nice now. It's something new, which allows you to get some points. And then in the future, you can actually save a lot of money with buying stuff on Keybay. So keep in mind and make sure you get your rewards when shopping with Keybay.
So my honest opinion in terms of the Sentry case, it's 224 USD, so it's not going to be the cheapest case out there. Do I think that it's overpriced? I don't think it's completely too overpriced, but when you really consider everything, right, it's only a case, not including a PCB or anything. So you're spending 224 USD on just a case for either your Wooting, GT60, the Rakka, the Venom 60 HE, or even a Venom MX PCB. It's not going to be super cheap at the end of it. Like if you really combine all of your total of how much you spent, if you go with the Wooting route, you're going to be spending anywhere between 500 USD to possibly 600 USD. If you go the Rakka route, again, around 600 USD. If you go the Venom MX route, you're probably spending about 400 USD with the keycap switches, everything, probably around 450 USD. If I really consider that with the whole build and the case, it's not the cheapest thing out there. Now, the build quality is quite nice, but you're only getting one mounting with it. I think for the price to be more justifiable, my honest opinion is that it should be 2 different mounting styles with it, and this style is really gamer heavy, so you're really going to be looking at more if you are a gamer who really wants that kind of like mech vibe in terms of your desk with everything, then yeah, the Sentry case is going to be something you'd be looking at, because it is a mech vibe, right? Like you can really see it. It's the whole machining and mech vibe that you get with this case. If you are looking for something clean, this is probably not the case for you. This is more towards those that really want that like super gamer vibe with, say, different types of maybe Gundams on your desk. That would probably fit more with the style, or even different mechs that you are interested in. If you are looking for something clean, I would highly recommend taking a look at a different case. But overall, I would say the MX in this thing sounded really nice, and the HE also was not bad. It's actually quite nice to be able to use this. We just need better HE switches in the future, so hopefully we get more of that, and hopefully we can see a lot more different customizations in this hobby with HE as well. So take a look at the link in the description to check out the case for yourselves, and of course check out the other videos I got, and I'll have to catch you guys next time.